WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I have a second bottle here from W.D. O'Connell, Whiskey Merchants, Single Malt Irish Whiskey, aged 19 years, the PX series. This is the third. So this is actually single cask 144104. I have bottle 253. It gets the total of 348 bottles. This is actually 46% non-chilled filtered whiskey, 700 milliliters. Yay! Cooley juice. 17 years and first fill bourbon barrels and 30 months in a Pedro Ximénez PX sherry butt. Whiskybase number 196659. 159 euros in Ireland, 139 euros over here in Germany, 0.7 liters. Yay. What am I going to compare it to? I'm going to compare it to this Torpedo whiskey. This is a W.D. O'Connell 0.5 liter, 13-year-old Bushmills from an Oloroso sherry, full maturation. No finishing here, people. 119 euros. I love this whiskey. This is my Torpedo whiskey. It just comes in very slow burn, and then bam, there's this taste explosion in the back of my palate. I'm going to have to go buy a bottle or two of these. There's not that many out there. To be exact, 294. So 348. So just fabulous, fabulous, fabulous whiskey here. And this is a little bit my problem when I compare these two. I have this whiskey in my brain. This is an A-, B+, and this is not. All right, so sorry. This is one of the best Irish whiskeys in the top 10, 20 in my life that I've ever had. This is not. Now, there are two problems we have with Irish whiskey at the moment. The first problem is we are running out of aged stocks. Irish distillers, Middleton, is not going to sell you a 20-year-old single malt or single pot still whiskey. Just not going to happen. Cooley now is owned by Beam Suntory. They haven't sold whiskey for a few years now, so you can't buy any more whiskeys from them. Bushmills, now owned by the Mexicans down there, that was traded in by Diageo. There was a little short time right before they traded in. A lot of barrels hit the market from Bushmills. They're not giving anything away either at the moment. And so all the different sources, the possible sources of aged whiskeys have dried up, which means that there are casks out there. They're hidden away in some warehouses someplace in Ireland, aging very, very quietly and silently, and they're running out. I've been offered a few casks of 20-year-old stuff, 40,000 euros per cask. It's just like, nope, not going to do that. But and there are going to be people coming from Asia or someplace else and saying, I would buy that for 40,000. Hey, that's a 23, 24, 21-year-old whiskey. Why not? Hey, that's actually not that bad of a price compared to other things they have to pay someplace else. And so these casks are going to disappear, and my bet is in the next year or two. And we're not going to have any more 19-year-old whiskeys anywhere. So, or very, very seldom. And if we do have them, they're going to be, unfortunately, even much more. This, as I said, 139 euros, 159 euros in Ireland, in Dublin, Celtic Whiskey Shop, direct by W. O'Connell shop. This is actually an okay price. Think about the price of a 21-year-old Bushmills. More. Think of the price of a 21-year-old Redbreast. More. So the price here is not absolutely out of the ballpark anymore. It's something we're going to get used to slowly but surely. Some of us slowly, some of us surely, never. But yeah, the good old days. Remember when we could buy a Redbreast 21-year-old for 80 euros? Why didn't I buy 3,000 of them? Yeah. So that's the life that we're working in here. That's the first part. The second part is I'm a little bit disappointed that they took 17-year-old first fill bourbon casks from Cooley and didn't just bottle it the way it is. I think bourbon matured whiskey is fabulous. Now, I really enjoy and I really love Pedro Ximénez cask finish things. You can absolutely, totally change the flavor profile of a whiskey by putting it in a Pedro Ximénez cask. You can take a terrible whiskey and make it a good whiskey. You can take a good whiskey and make it a good whiskey. You can take a great whiskey and make it a good whiskey because everything tastes like Pedro Ximénez. Yeah, and see what I did? Everything just goes into good, even though it was great or terrible. That's what Pedro Ximénez does. Pedro Ximénez has this very intense taste profile. You can put it in ice cream, like maple syrup. You can put it in anything else. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. But it almost all tastes very, very similar. And it's very powerful. It's very overpowering for the whiskey. And I would have loved, and I know I might be in the minority at the moment, but I would have loved to have a 17-year-old first fill bourbon cask matured from Cooley in a good bottle at 50%. Now, this is 46. They did dilute it down. It is a 30-month finishing in those Pedro Ximénez sherry cask, in that cask. And yeah, let's see what's going to happen here on the nose. Yep, get that raisins, get that Pedro Ximénez. Now, the entire time I've worked with this bottle, not that far, but I have been tasting a little bit from this on different occasions now, I get that Pedro Ximénez, and I get a little bit of a lemon zest of that vanilla Cooley moment. What I don't get is this. I get this. And it's almost as if they're talking at cross purposes. There is not, in my opinion, the perfect harmony reached. I don't think you'll ever reach the perfect harmony. It's been in there in that cask now for 30 months. That's a fairly long time. They don't even call it a finish. They call it a second maturation at W.D. O'Connell. But I just don't get that harmony, that complementary moment here that I would have preferred. It's good. This is a C plus whiskey. It might even be a B minus. It's good, but it's not wow. And that was my problem. This was a wow whiskey. This was a, I need to go buy a bottle of this, or 2 or 6 or 10. This is such good stuff. And this is like, oh, Pedro Ximénez. I've had this 30, 40, 50 times in my life. Yes, I know that taste. Oh, just like every other thing. It's just absolutely just bulldozers the taste of the original whiskey and just puts it, the footprint, the stamp of Pedro Ximénez on everything. Cheers. Yep. I have the feeling that there was a wonderful, wonderful whiskey that has been changed into a Pedro Ximénez mediocre moment for me. Yes, there's a little bit of brown sugar. Yes, there's a raisin. Yes, there's all that Pedro Ximénez. But the original whiskey here is hardly at all recognizable, which I want. That's my problem here. This is a C plus whiskey, maybe even going in the territory of B minus if you're really in the mood for Pedro Ximénez, for that PX moment here. It's everything it's supposed to be, and yet it's not what I hoped it could have been. Would I buy another bottle? Definitely not. C minus, D plus for value for money. Compared to the taste. Not compared to the age. If you take a look, find anything else for 19 years out there from Irish whiskey, you're going to pay probably more for it. So, C minus for the value for money. Buy it if you want to. Don't expect the wow moment here, but do expect a very nice, there's a tiny little bit of pepper. There's a tiny little bit of leather. There's a lot of the raisins going on here. The official tasting notes are the following. This 19-year-old single malt was initially matured in first fill bourbon barrels before we created a small batch that we aged for further. Here it says 24 months. Here it says 30 months. So for a second maturation for 30 months in an ex-Pedro Ximénez sherry cask. Did not say first fill. Bottled at 46%, non-chilled filtered, and no added color. It is rich, full-bodied Irish whiskey that showcased the continued progression of the limited series of Pedro Ximénez influenced single malt Irish whiskeys. All right, cask number 144104. So here I could be getting a little bit of a rich cocoa nose with white pepper spices, raisins, and the toasted oak. What I did not do in my German video, I'm going to do in my English video here, is dilute it down a little bit. Take it down to 40%. Why did they not bottle this at 50, 52%? Why 46? That's the minimum that they're probably going to do to keep the non-chilled filtered and natural color moment going here. It's even less of that raisins, even much less of the leather, even more. There's a little bit of spice in there. There's a tiny little bit of a fruit moment going on there, as I talked about the lemon zest. Okay, good. C plus in taste. A C minus in value for money. Personal opinion here. Question of the day, what Irish whiskey do you know of that has had a finish or a full maturation in Pedro Ximénez PX casks? So a single malt Irish whiskey that has been matured or finished in Pedro Ximénez. What things out there have you seen that might still be available for all of us? Please write in the chat. That would be a very, very nice thing. I'm going to allow myself one last torpedo, one last explosion of flavor in my mouth with a WD O'Connor 13-year-old sherry cask here. Boom. Wow. That's so good. That is good stuff. All right. WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of American. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for liking. What do you think about WD O'Connor? O'Connell? Can Irish whiskey actually use another bonder, a whiskey merchant? I think so. All right. Think of green spot, red spot, yellow spot, and so on. Whiskey merchants, right? All right. Thank you. All the best. Bye-bye.